The audio snippets used in this podcast are taken from the Mellon Foundation Oral History Project's archive. Their stories produced through this podcast series and the opinions and statements that may be contained herein do not reflect those of the District 6 Museum, but rather the individuals hosted within this series. Welcome to another episode in the District 6 Museum Vusalela Ons Luister podcast series. Here at the District 6 Museum, we are always told that every street has its own story and every corner its own gang. We have Hanover Street for its fresh fish market, Caledon Street for the British Bioscope, and Mere Street for the Mere Street Mosque, established in 1919. But what do we know about the smaller streets like Lock Street, Windsor Street, and Bruce Street? Today we look at one of these smaller, lesser known streets and hear from Mr. Schoonraad what he remembers about his beloved Bruce Street and all the other streets he made his own. Mr. Schoonraad was an ex-resident of District 6 who was forcibly removed from his home by the apartheid government in 1977. Let's have a listen to a conversation he's having with Ayanda Mpono, interviewer at the District 6 Museum.
Tell us a bit about then, how was it like growing up in District 6? Which street did you explore?
Bruce Street.
Bruce Street,
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that street. What happened there? How was it like growing up there?
Where do I begin? I can tell you, from the bottom of Bruce Street, all the families, the corner house at 5 Balmoral Street was almost in February. Now coming up Bruce Street, the first house was what we used to call the dollhouse, Mrs. Connolly's house. Then there was a lane, and then there was the Festus, and then us at number 20 Bruce Street. And then next to us was the Williams family, then the Smith family. Then the last flat stoop house was the Josiahs. The next one was the Newmans, and then the Davis family, then the Boyd family, then the young August family, and then old Mr. and Mrs. August, and then the Phillips. The last flat stoop was the Rudolphs, Bobby on a corner, and the 2-3 houses was his.
Well, vivid in your head. They're still clear in your head. Very interesting.
Opposite, on the bottom, the Bassons was the first house, and then the Bennetts was first stayed opposite us. They moved out, and then the Balmanians moved in. Then you got the lane. The next house was the Dantus. The next house was the Sudios. The next house was the Millers.
That's Bruce Street.
Bruce Street on that side now, going up.
Okay.
Then Solomon's. There was 2 Solomons. Already Solomons, but they weren't related. They were the same surname. Yeah, and the Millers. I remember all of them. Oh, we had a very, very nice road. All hard-working people, all working. Oh yes. Oh, I can still remember. I can walk you up from my house, right up to the school, every road. I walk through.
You will pass Hanover Street.
Yes, when you walk up Bruce Street, then you get Windsor Street.
Okay.
Yeah, because Hanover Street branches off at Shepherd Street.
Okay.
Then that's Windsor, what they used to call Klein Hanover Street.
Yeah, clean Hanover Street.
Yeah, and then the Windsor Street came up, Bruce Street ran flat into Windsor Street. Then you got Oxford Street. The way I used to walk was up Bruce Street. Now, at that time it was, the bus was a penny. But that was a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That was ice cream money. And we used to walk.
Yeah.
We used to walk to school.
And
On the that time it was all Woodstock Beach, it's all gone now. It's all gone. But we used to walk down from Bruce Street, we used to walk down Seoul Street, and then into Albert Road. Then we used to go over the bridge in Woodstock. Come out actually by Woodstock Beach.
Mr. Schoonraad took us on a journey through Bruce Street. After 45 years after being forcefully removed, it is amazing how well he remembers, how he sees the families of Bruce Street in his mind's eye, The Bruce Street that so many people lived and toiled in is no longer. It is lost to the rubble of demolished homes and the memories of our elders. This podcast was made in memory of Mr. Clifford Schoonraad, who passed away on the 26th of May 2022. Thank you for listening, and please stay tuned for another episode in the District 6 Museum Vusalela Ons Luister podcast series. The audio snippets used in this podcast are taken from the Mellon Foundation Oral History Projects Archive. The stories produced through this podcast series and the opinions and statements that may be contained herein do not reflect those of the District 6 Museum, but rather the individuals hosted within this series.